Now, welcome to Life After Sports. This is episode 29 with your host, Kevin Johnson, and we have a special guest tonight, Kelly Oubre Sr. in the house. He is president of Beast Developmental, and I'm just so glad to have you on the show. When Everest reached out to me, I said, man, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. Reading your
Exactly.
bio, I definitely follow your son. I'm definitely a basketball guy. I coach women's basketball on that side, but
Good.
definitely I'm glad to be able to, have this conversation. And I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and be authentic with us and share your journey. For those of you that are jumping in, the topic tonight is called the importance of fatherhood. And look, we couldn't have no other than you, Mr. Oubre, to talk about the importance of fatherhood.
Thank you. And I take that and I wear that as a badge of honor because I think I represent whether I want to or not. I think years ago, Charles Barkley said, he came on and said he wasn't a role model. But at the end of the day, we're all seen. Maybe we're not heard, we're seen.
Yeah.
And how we're seen, I guess, kind of is determined by us. Whether we want to be role models to somebody that we know or somebody we don't know. So
yeah.
we're seen.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, talking about being role models, being mentors, I want to talk a little bit about your journey and then where your journey all began and your childhood as well.
Well, journey, it all began in New Orleans, Louisiana, 2/21, 1969. Grew up, I was rambunctious to the point where, as I segued into my, my eights, nines, and tens, I was put on Trailway buses and Greyhound buses and sent to Vacherie, Louisiana. I was put on the bus alone sometimes with my little bag, right?
Yeah.
I sat up there by the driver, and when that door swung open, he was right outside of Beach Street. Beach Street is where my grandmother lived in Vacherie. That's where I spent my summers. Now, Coach, I left New Orleans for a number of reasons. First of all, because I was bad. And
Hey, you being honest. You're being honest.
Second of all, I couldn't get my shovel in Vacherie because the cornfield across from the house, they had the little house, and which was big to me at the time, because when we're small, everything is big.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin Stan was there. And as I write a passage into the summer, I would go into the house, kiss my grandma, drop my bag, take my shoes and socks off, go knock on Stan's door, and we would go stand in the ant piles to see who the man was. All right. It was so cookie cutter that they had 4 shoe boxes inside the house waiting on us with bottles of alcohol. Once we figured it out that, we couldn't defeat the ants.
Can't defeat the ants.
Exactly. They just poured alcohol in our legs and we just carried on from that day and our summer began. So that was roughly how, my childhood started out. I was kind of rough and rugged, always rambunctious into stuff. And looking back on it, I wouldn't have changed anything for the world.
Yeah.
Because it propelled me and helped me be the person that I was, and to understand that, be ready for change. Sometimes you have to go somewhere else to have a good time. And it kind of brought me into Birmingham. I followed my mom, probably fifth grade maybe, for a year. She worked at the South Central Bell. And went there 5th grade, was in a Rocky Ridge Elementary School for a year. And it taught me a lot about Alabama that New Orleans didn't teach me to that point. And it was a different surroundings. The climate was different. The people talked differently. They thought I talked funny, but I thought they talked funny. So we had that in common. So it kind of helped me mold my young childhood and give it some more perspective outside of New Orleans, because my environment was predominantly white in Alabama and all black in New Orleans. So I learned that, my presentation meant a lot. My presence meant a lot at a young age. And the fact that I could diversify or fit into certain groups really helped me, not only at that time as I learned how to do it, but helped me grow. And I had a chance to go back to Alabama for my 9th and 10th grade year in high school. And I wasn't such, I wasn't so aloof to how things worked in Alabama as opposed to New Orleans, but I think I was a little more prepared because of the dichotomy in both surroundings and settings.
Okay. Now, my next question is, throughout your childhood, what memories stand out the most in your mind in regards to what has shaped and molded you into the person you are today?
Well, my defining summer was right around 77, maybe 78, I think it was. I was a bat boy on my cousin's baseball team in Bloomington, Indiana. And I was happy being a bat boy for the team because I couldn't play because I wasn't from there, and the dynamic of the team had already been formed. And I was a little younger than my cousin anyway, so he was on a different age group. But somebody was up to bat, and I was running to get the bat after they dropped it. And Mike Dunphy, I'll never forget the name, Mike Dunphy, he was in the batter's box, and I ran across his left shoulder, and he hit me in the mouth with a baseball bat and knocked out my two front teeth at a very young age. I think I was maybe 8 or 9. And at that point, my permanent teeth had come in. And that kind of played a part in how I grew up in my self-esteem. But I never let that lack of, proper dental care gradually, as we're trying to fight to save teeth, play into my equation, because I was going to be a success whether I look good or not, put it that way.
No matter the obstacle, you was going to be a success anyway.
Exactly.
Either way.
I'm not arrogant. I'm just confident. Okay. All right,
I love it. I love it. And I know that we talked about this in regards to, we talk about the pre-career, the in-career, the post-career,
yes, sir.
Past, present, and the future.
Yeah.
And, talking about the importance of fatherhood, I want you to give us the story, about your journey of being a single father.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I got to go back to that dichotomy word, because ironically, Kelly had his own dichotomy that he experienced because Katrina happened. And
Hurricane Katrina.
Exactly. It happened on the heels of him receiving his black belt in Taekwondo. It also happened on the heels, maybe 3-4 weeks removed from the AAU Nationals in Orlando, Florida, when I met a bunch of fathers from all over the country.
Wow.
So we broke bread, we exchanged business cards. So I went back to New Orleans from there, not knowing Katrina was about to happen, with 30 business cards wrapped in a rubber band of guys all over the country. So my network started right there, because when the storm hit, I had people to call all over the country. And we landed in Houston, Texas, the day before Katrina, and we wrote it out there. We didn't know what back home would look like. So we just put him in school at the time there. And it proved to be very fruitful, because I looked around and I saw opportunity. And I knew back home there wouldn't be opportunity for a very long time. And I don't know if New Orleans would ever be up to my standards that I wanted to raise my son in. So I had a decision to make. Either I draw my line in the sand and reinvent myself now, or I take Kelly back into a situation that wasn't beneficial for him. So I would strongly advise those out there within an earshot to don't be afraid to reinvent yourself, as long as your family's eating and they're provided for, because that might be what it takes to propel your family and yourself to another level or another tax bracket. So overcome that initial fear when either you're young or they're young, so the blow is not as severe as you go through the growing pains of a new situation.
Yeah.
I didn't know Katrina would happen, but it did. Okay. But since it did, and I was in a place where I saw opportunity, then I wanted to make lemonade. And Kelly learned a lot along the way, which speaks to his dichotomy. Transition once again from New Orleans to Houston, Texas. Now, mine was from New Orleans to Alabama. So strangely enough, it seemed like it was happening all over again, but for him this time. And I knew the benefits that I received from the dichotomy of it all. I learned that I was a pretty good orator, and I could convey my words or paint pictures with my words to just let people know exactly what I was feeling. Not saying that I talked all the time, but it was my head cooking up. So he learned the same thing. And it was tough on him, I must admit. It was tough on me too, because I had to take on odd jobs. But it was well worth it in the end, because I never deviated from my plan of success. And he had a chance to experience that with me, because he trusted in me enough to just ride with me as a child.
When you talk about reinvent yourself, that was our last episode that we had on our podcast. I don't even know if you know or not.
I didn't look at the last one. I looked at the one before that.
The last one was talking about reinventing yourself. So when you said that word, I said, ding, 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 ding.
All right.
So, a lot of people who are watching the show, that they don't know that the motto of the show is, when one career ends, a whole new set of opportunities begin. And so I think we're always, no matter if it's in the sports industry or different industries professionally, we're always trying to reinvent ourselves all the
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
So if you had to speak to us or give us what was the biggest challenge in regards to raising your son in the society, what challenge would that be?
You know what? To take him away from what he sees every day,
Hmm.
to let him know that the world is round and not flat, to at least stimulate his thought process. And I'm not a big person that asks a lot of how and why questions because I have a computer in my pocket all day called a cell phone. I can look it up myself.
Google.
Exactly. So I might ask somebody a question, but you know what? I might have an idea what the answer could possibly be, but I'd like to hear it in their words and how they interpretate the question, how they reach their outcome. So with that being said, looking back at Kelly, his journey and how he presents himself now and positions himself in situations, he has more of that Machiavellian principle that I have. Whereas even in his current situation, it's trying at times because the whole dynamic has changed from what he was used to.
Hmm.
With the first team that drafted him, he was at the end of the bench. The first year, he sat on the bench. The coach didn't even want to look at him. Okay, fine, because he didn't play rookies. That was fine. New coach comes in, and there was a guy in front of Kelly who was working for a max contract, ironically with ties to Georgetown, which also the owner of the team was, the general manager, I'm sorry, the vice president of the team was, the head of marketing, and the guy, and we actually played in Georgetown's same arena in DC. So
Wow.
I kind of told him, I says, Kelly, let's be honest about this. They're not going to keep you. So I want you to just audition for 29 other teams while you're here. Okay,
Mm.
because when it comes down to paying you, they're not going to pay you and him. And let's just be realistic about this. This was year one.
Yeah.
But I have to be a forward thinker like I
Yeah.
always have been.
Yeah.
And this is not because I'm mad or mean or I'm salty or I'm bitter. It's because I have to be forward thinking.
Absolutely.
So I'm prepping his young mind to realize that change will possibly come at some point in this 4-year run under a rookie scale contract.
Yeah.
So just get better every year. His playing time increased. He was traded. It was a botched trade at first. And he wound up in Phoenix. We had a chance to do some different things because he had more freedom.
Yeah.
Ironically, we experienced another trade to Golden State. And, to OKC. Then they transferred to Golden State. And once again, it all played into the dichotomy in the preparation work and how it benefits me to this day by being able to navigate in and out of certain circles, regardless of skin tone, skin color, or ethnic background, because I see the business at hand and I refer back to how business was done pre-slavery to tie it all together.
Mm.
Because let's say in Greek and Roman empires, we were still there in positions of power. A lot of us don't know that because we all had a common enemy that was at the gate, and they weren't coming around just to talk. They were coming to take.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's funny how when people come together for a common good and they have a common enemy, they have a tendency to work together more often. And they won't let the little things rip them apart because survival is at stake here.
Yeah. It's a bigger picture.
It's a bigger picture. And I've always told him things like that. Just always think far and wide when you think. Always appreciate the man in front of you, the janitor, or appreciate the CEO or the team owner also the same way.
Yeah.
Because they both hold weight in that situation.
They do.
Yes.
They do. They absolutely do. For those that are watching this show, and I know they're probably interested to know, what was it like, moving from one area to the next to make sure that it was a better conducive environment for your son, as well as you're working multiple jobs to make sure that ends are taken care of, so that the family is taken care of. Tell me a little bit about from 56 to 6.
56 to 6. I had a whiteboard, all right? What's funny? I'm glad you asked that because look, whiteboard.
Oh.
This is the blue one, and the other one was the red one that got lost in the a couple of moves ago. He had a red one. When I bought this one, I bought that one.
Wow. And you got to explain it to me.
Yeah. So beautiful story. Had to be there. 56 to 6, okay? He was in Houston, Texas. He had traveled on the Adidas and Nike circuit throughout his pre-high school years. Get to high school, you got you got some letters waiting on you, put it that way. Boxes of letters, put it that way, because he was already on the map as a 5-star, 4 or 5-star. Gotcha. So how he got to that point was playing summer ball 2-3 years prior, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. He was always traveling every weekend, and Houston was a hotbed for talent. Now, sometimes the talent may have been somewhat, I wouldn't say delusional, but the parents of the talented kids were delusional, because Houston is like a world within a world, sort of like California is.
Yeah.
And I don't know of other parts of the world that have that swagger about them.
Yeah.
That we're all inclusive type scenario.
Yeah, you said, you hit it on the head. You said Cali's one. You said another.
Yeah. So I'm just yeah. But it's almost like, and I draw, and once again speaking to the dichotomy, and I love that word because it thoroughly explains so much of our journey. The dichotomy of a Houston is big houses and big cars, paralleled against the dichotomy of a New Orleans, where it's pretty much bare bones. You got to get in where you fit in.
Fit in.
So always finding that healthy balance, or that mix, for me was always, I won't say challenging, but I had to bring him back to center with those conversations sometimes, because he would have a tendency to venture out and get caught up in the mindset of a big house and big cars. And I would always explain to him, well, I didn't come from that, and I don't want you to look at that as an option when you have not put the work in to get to that point.
The work.
So many of his friends were enjoying the lifestyle because that's what their parents afforded them, but I didn't have the money or the resources to present that lifestyle to him. So I always kept it on the back of his mind that just like you got a black belt in Taekwondo, you're going to have to work for everything you get.
Yeah.
So 56-6 was, Rivals.com was in town one day. And we had the option. This is funny. Everett's godbrother, he headed an organization in Houston, Texas, the Houston Hoops. And one team in town, I love them to death. I owe everything that Kelly has gone through, or I owe a lot to them, put it that way, for the stage they put him on.
Gotcha.
And that was it, just the stage. So Rivals was in town, across town on the north side. But the Houston Hoops had a barbecue at a local park. And one of our famous celebrities, I'm not going to name drop her, she was at the barbecue. And the guy was trying to get me to go to the barbecue just to show loyalty to the club. And I was like, well, I would love to come, but we got something across town we got to go do. I didn't tell him what it was, right?
Yeah.
So that was a Friday. They came in town Friday night, evaluating kids, yada, yada, yada. Houston was just like that. You might go to the north side, the east, southwest side, southeast side, just to find talent. That's how big it is.
Yeah.
So that weekend culminated, and the guy asked me, well, where were you? I missed you. I says, well, I kind of told you I wasn't coming, but let me tell you why. Because Rivals.com was in town. They were ranking kids. And I wanted Kelly to feel special, like the special guy at the prom or the handsome kid at the prom, because I had to do my job, too, to put him on the map on a national level, since obviously some of the locals around here have not accepted him, and we've been here 5 or 6 years already.
Wow.
So, ironically, the new rankings came out at 56. I had the dry erase board on his board facing the living room, putting the chores that I needed him to do, because I was working 3 jobs. I'd write the chores down. You do this, he's checking them all. So he puts 56 at the bottom of it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to pretend like I don't see that, and I'll figure out why eventually. So I'm not going to ask any questions. So
you mean Kelly put 56?
Yeah, he wrote 56 on the bottom 56. Of the dry erase board, yeah. So I didn't know what it was. So I'm like, all right. So a couple of months pass, I say 6 months. He puts 38 on there, I think it was. And he crosses out 56. I said, all right, I'm going to go along with this. But I asked him one day, I said, I couldn't take it enough. I said, Kelly, what are these numbers? He said, well, Daddy, that's my Rivals ranking right now. But it's not going to be there for long, so don't get used to the numbers. I said, all right. So at this time, keep in mind, I'm trying to paint the picture of all the stuff that's going on. He's on Rivals, okay? And he's in the top 150, top 100, whatever it was at the time. Because every year, it breaks down to top 150, top 100, then top 50 or something like that.
Yeah.
But your 5-star, you're probably going to be top 25 or top 30. So that's the class of the class right there. That's the boys that's going pro. That's
the big boys.
Yeah, that's earmarked for high-level D1 colleges and stuff. So he's still in the pipeline with the Houston Hoops, which is, at that time, the one team in town, major stage in the city and the country on the Nike circuit. So his visibility is popping. He's on the road every weekend during school. He's playing school ball, and that number's coming down. So it gets down to 22 or something like that. And pretty soon, I can't say I noticed a change in him, but I noticed a change in him because he was killing everything moving. It was personal for him now because it's almost like the guys in Houston, he was always playing upperclassmen. His teammates on his high school, when he joined in the 9th grade, they had just come off a state championship the year before.
Wow.
So that was a motivating factor. And we were zoned to the school, so it wasn't any funny business. We just showed up because I bought a house behind the school. Yeah. 3 years earlier. So lo and behold, we get down to that 11th grade year. Now he's 6 on rivals, okay? So I've killed everything in the country. Yeah, Pops, I'm going to go to school next year as a senior. I'm going to drop 50 a night. I said, no, you're not. I got plans for you, boss. You're going to Finlay Prep in Vegas so you can play international competition to get ready for college. Oh, okay. He didn't like it at first, but then he realized what I was doing. I said, once again, just ride with me on this. Because the angst was in Houston, they didn't know if they were going to be able to take 5 more McDonald's All-Americans out of Texas like they did the year before. And guess who was going to be the odd man out if it came down to it? Because the daddy never played the game or took anything along the way and wasn't compromised. So I said, all right, let me just go make you the #1 kid in Nevada so you're a shoo-in for the McDonald's All-American.
So, but he graduated from high school first.
He graduated from Finlay Prep in Vegas.
Finlay Prep, got
you. 12th grade year, yes.
Gotcha.
So he left in the 11th grade year, 11th grade to 12th grade summer. He went to Finlay. He got to Finlay. He played that year out and graduated. His graduating class was 3. And you're talking about a journey, all right?
Yeah, that's a journey.
We went up there for the pomp and circumstance of 3. Called the Spirit Airlines back to Houston that Friday night after the graduation. Okay. That Monday, he reported for duty at Kansas for summer school and to work some summer camps to make some extra money. So that's the journey of 56 to 6. And yeah, it was part of the process. Let me just say that.
Yeah. No, I mean, nothing comes easy. That's the first thing. And so the journey, I think a lot of people get so tied into the end result. What's the end result? You made all the money, or you've achieved all this wealth or this fame, but nobody never wants to listen to the process. There's a process that happens before you get to the end result. Yes, and so when you fall in love with the journey, the end result just becomes it becomes a replica of what the work that you put in.
Exactly. And I run into that a lot through my parents that I've worked with in the past, through casual conversations. But the first ones to know that they can't compete at the highest levels are the kids. So there's not enough you the man speeches on the way to the game and the way home that parents can give kids once you start attaining these accolades or you start hitting 5-star status, because there's a reason why that kid is tearing things up. Yeah. It's almost like he's been here 3 times before. You just showed up. And what you're lacking in, he's going to expose because he's trained to do so because he's done it so many times before on bigger, better, faster competition. But strangely enough, far too many times, young diamonds, which I call my athletes, and trusted advisors, which I call my parents, they get snowed in with the illusion that they have time. I got time. Well, no, you don't have time. And let me tell you why. Because he's been doing this since the 6th grade. Yeah. He's been rubbing shoulders with these 5-stars in the 11th grade since the 6th grade. So now you show up, as the kid around the corner who wants to play on a high school team, having put no work in along the way, having not traveled along the way, no summer ball affiliation, no shoe company affiliation, and here you are wanting to compete. Yeah, it don't work like that. No, it's not. It don't work like that. Now, I know you mentioned trusted advisor, and so before, for those who are watching, and they're probably going to ask, okay, trusted advisor. So before we get, I want you to define the terminology: trusted advisor, clarifier, justifier, and diamond. Yes, sir. Okay, trusted advisor. If you go to my website at beastdevelopmental.com, you'll see the logo. And you'll see some words around the logo. At the top is Beast Developmental. That's the company. That's the drone. I am the drone, okay? The company's the drone that looks down on the logo. Right down into the middle of the logo, in the middle of the logo is a diamond surrounded by 3 very thick walls. To the right, if you go clockwise of the diamond, is a trusted advisor. That's the parent or guardian or clarifier that supports, along with Beast Developmental, the young diamond. That's the support system. Us 3 working together to deliver information in real time, to give fact-based information, and to act as a drone to regulate and organize and make sure that young diamond has everything he needs.
Gotcha.
If you go clockwise to the bottom, you'll see peers. Okay. I strategically put peers there because I want my young diamonds to realize that you must always want to be above your competition. Therefore, the diamond in the logo sits above the word peers. So I'm training their mind subconsciously to do the 56-to-6 transition. See, because Kelly is the personification of Beast Developmental. He is Beast Developmental since its inception. That's where I got the idea from. So the young diamond is over the peers, always. He must understand that that is where he always wants to be. Even during tough times, you got to want to be better than your competition. You got to want to be better than the hottest guys. You got to seek out the competition and look to kill it. Okay? If you go clockwise, keep going. To the left is the governing bodies. That's our school districts. That's those, the NCAA, the NBA, the professional organizations you work for, our bosses basically, and who they answer to. That is the entity that sets the rules and the laws that we must abide or play by. So the logo breakdown is Beast Developmental on top, trusted advisor to the right, peers at the bottom, governing body to the left, and young diamond in the middle. Okay? Was that a clarity enough for you, or?
Oh, that was you. Look, you made it so clear. You broke it down. I got it. I mean, you could, but you clarified it exactly. I wish I could be able to take a picture, just put the logo so people could see. But no, I feel like you made it clear, very clear in regards to the logo itself and how you broke it down. Just because I know you're gonna use those words a lot, and I just want to make sure that people understand the definition of those words.
Yes, yes, and
can you hear me?
Got you.
Hello?
And I know I might talk fast.
Okay.
I'm just trying to be as clear and get the message out there so when they look at the logo, they can understand exactly what part each individual word and symbol plays. Okay, now, along with clarifier, there are justifiers. Justifiers are those people that are always trying to find some kind of inroads to get to the young athlete or the young diamond, even if it's around the trusted advisor or the Beast Developmental concept like myself. Because they have to justify why they're hanging around anyway all the time. Whereas a clarifier never has to justify why they're there. They can clarify why they've been there the whole time at any given time, just to bring that young diamond back to center. That's what I've always been for Kelly, his clarifier. Let me explain to you what it took for you since you forgot, since you're new now, you got a pocket full of money. Remember when you got kicked in the face in Taekwondo and you wanted to quit? But then I told you to sleep on it. We'll talk about it tomorrow. And you came back the next morning over breakfast and said, Daddy, I'm not quitting anything. I took him back to center and I let him know back then quitting wasn't an option because he let me know quitting wasn't an option.
Yeah.
So if it was a tough time he was going through, that's tough where he wanted to quit. So I'm not a justifier, I'm a clarifier.
Yeah, and that's a big difference.
Yes, sir.
That's a big difference. I like how you broke it down. I think that what you just explained just now is a whole lot. I hope parents and even professional athletes that's watching this, it definitely signifies understanding your circle and who is working with you, who's working against you, and it puts people in certain boxes so that you can understand what's going around in your circle. Talking about circle, can you describe what you've learned throughout this whole journey of you being a trusted advisor and being a clarifier for your son. The process itself, like, can you explain? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know if you heard the question. The question was, can
Can
you
you hear me?
describe what you? Yeah, I can hear you. The question was, can you describe the journey? Describe
No,
what
I
you've
didn't hear. Can
learned
you repeat?
throughout your journey. Okay, can you describe the journey of what you've learned about the journey in regards to
Okay.
you being a trusted advisor and being a clarifier for your son? Mr. Oubre, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I guess it's going in and out. I don't know why, but so I
Check
was
with the
saying,
screen.
I was saying, can you describe what you've learned about your journey, throughout your journey, what you've learned?
Well, one thing I learned is that other people's no's don't define me or never will. It's almost like I never hear their no's when they say them anyway. So it's like they're wasting their time. Because once I have one item, so I'm locked in, I'm fixated on what I need to do. I mean, everything else is all a byproduct of my mission. So uh, I've learned that resilience and perseverance pays off over money. And I'm going to tell you why, because I ran into a couple of individuals along the way that wanted to basically, I don't want to say buy Kelly, but, contribute to his contribute to his monetary needs fund, basically. And I'm trying to clean it up because there are justifiers out there that want to buy their way into a young athlete's life so they can use him for nefarious reasons
Mm,
long term. And understanding that the power lied in my parenting, the power lies with me in my nose, kind of shut all that nonsense, because what I did was I crippled them and took their money off the table. So for my parents out there who don't have the resources, you have the power. You don't need the money to keep the power.
mm.
Somebody wants to come and approach you about, let me pay the light bill for you. No, you've been paying on the light bill, so keep paying on the light bill. The power is in your no, because once you let the devil in, you can never get rid of him.
Wow.
So the light bill may mean something to them, but as long as you know how to turn the stove on, or you know what a pound of lunch meat is in a loaf of bread, then you retain or you maintain and control, or you have all the power. So you can harness that power and present that power to your young diamond every step of the way, and you can use it as reference material once you guys ascend to higher heights together. Because it's all about elevation together. The young athlete or the young diamond is not 100% of who he could possibly become if he does not have that trusted advisor with him, holding his hand every step of the way. So to my parents out there, to my clarifiers, to my trusted advisors, I want them to understand the power lies in your sacrifice without the hopes and wishes or dreams of monetary gain. Because personally, the money means nothing to me. It's not about the money. It's about the commitment. It's about the need. It's about the want. It's about the positioning that I have to be able to sit down quietly and enjoy that young diamond, do what they do, and enjoy doing it in the process along with them.
Yeah. No, I mean, that was well said. I mean, especially with this how AAU circuit is now today, a lot of the, parents, a lot of the kids who are making leaps to go play in the pros, they come from, if they do the demographic, they come from single family homes.
Exactly.
And so those are a lot of the things that are happening. And then now you have these agents and these big organizations sliding kids money, all these different type of things to be able to get them to play for this team or get them to sign with this marketing group or this contract with this. And if they don't have a trusted advisor, someone who's a clarifier that's in their circle, you can be setting up your prized possession as your young king or your young diamond for failure if you don't know these things that's happening.
Exactly. And that makes our jobs even more clearly defined, because I use it as practice every step of the way.
Yeah.
let me just say no and see what happens.
Yeah. You know, and
It's
let's see,
almost like, how dare you tell me no?
how dare you tell me no? I made this offer. This is the best offer, point blank on the table. How dare you
Right,
tell me no? When I
right,
think about that, I think about I watched this thing. It was on Uninterrupted. I believe it was Maverick Carter talking
right.
about LeBron, and LeBron was talking about the check that he got from. It wasn't. I don't know if it was Nike. I think it was Reebok. It could be
Okay,
Reebok or Adidas. I don't know which company. They wrote a check 10 million. He
right.
said, if you're writing a check 10 million right now, that means I'm worth more than what you give me right now.
Exactly.
Turned it away, said no. Said no and signed 90 million with Nike.
Right, right. Delayed gratification, putting things in perspective, and you know what? Telling them, let me sleep on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing right now. Let me sleep on it. Whatever the offer is,
If
if
it's
it's
that good,
legit,
it could wait.
it can wait. If it's legitimate, it can wait. If it's nonsense and nefarious, or you got to sign now, no, man, no, no.
Yeah.
So you're right.
So talking about that, we're going to go into post-career now. And if you
Okay.
can tell me, what is your why?
You know what? I thought about that, and I think my why kind of morphs into my why not. I
Mm,
mean, I like the concept of the word why, but like I said earlier, I'm not a how and why overtly kind of guy. My whys are internal
yeah.
because I'm gonna do my research and
Mm,
I'm gonna dig, and you're not gonna outwork me because I have my own plan as to how I'm gonna structure my why. I have my own plan on how I'm gonna structure my three-dimensional thinking to surround my why. My why will work for me, even if it doesn't work for anybody else that I know. I think backwards sometimes, and that works to my benefit because I play worst case scenarios as possibilities. That's why during tough times, I don't get rattled. Okay? Because I don't have to get rattled. If I get rattled, my son gets rattled. He very rarely has ever seen me rattled to the point where I'm broken, to the point where I can't come back from very quickly. Quite frankly, he's never seen that moment. No matter what we've been through, or what we're going through, or what we've been sitting in the stew of in the moment, no, there's a way out of this,
yeah.
and I wanted to show him how to navigate through these things. So in tough times like he may be experiencing throughout his career, along with that black belt conversation or taking them back and bringing them to center, he can realize, okay, to your point, why? And I know why not is a catchy phrase, but let me explain to you. My mom used to always tell me this thing. She said, everybody doesn't think like you. And in the back of my mind to this day, as I sit here, the question is, well, why not? And I'm not saying I'm any better than anybody else, but let me do some deductive reasoning here. If I don't get tied up into substances, if I don't overcommit myself to obligations that are not beneficial to me and my family, if I don't follow the crowd, then this will work for me, and it probably would work for some other people if they did the same thing that I did along the way. The problem is it becomes rarefied air. The people around me are few and far between who can speak or have a talk track and be uncompromised and don't have to answer the red phone in the corner. Because that house, I always tell Everest about our two-house concept. My two-house concept is two houses on the street. One house is busy, full of traffic, cars in the driveway, parked on the lawn, lights always on, people coming and going. That's the justifier house.
Mm,
Red phone blowing up in the corner. Somebody has to answer it. Somebody's calling either for somebody in the house or because somebody's calling because they need a favor. From who? The clarifier house across the street. One person chilling, smooth jazz playing, calm, grass cut, manicured, flowers nice. Everything about the house is pristine. Something foreign in the driveway, chilling, right? That's the clarifier house. And I pose it to my parents. Honestly, let's think about this. If you're uncompromised, what house do you really want to live in? That busy house with all that nonsense going on, cutthroat sharks stabbing each other, trying to do a deal, trying to get this done. Somebody sent half of them there to get a deal done to pay off a debt that they had before they got pinched and sent into the house, or that calm and peaceful house across the street.
that calm and peaceful house of the clarifier across the street.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't need an entourage to rock and roll. I keep my team skinny for a reason.
Yep.
And, it works. Like I said, it works for me, Kev.
Yeah, I know,
It
and
works for me.
it works for you. It's been working this long. You don't. There's no reason to reinvent or do something different. It's not broke.
Exactly.
Don't fix it.
Exactly.
So, talking about the company, describe your consulting company, the mission and the vision, and then I also want you to touch a little bit on your three-dimensional approach.
Perfect. No problem. All right. One thing about the company, the inception of it started on 12/9/95 when Kelly was born. That's my thought process. Okay. I didn't say reinvent myself once again. What I had to do was I had to crystallize my focus here because, as he was brought into the world, it was my job to make him a success, to facilitate growth, facilitate a success, not just facilitate a child, not just be there to do the bare minimum. No, 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 no. To go above and beyond, to do whatever I had to do to make him a smashing success so he could exceed my greatest expectations that I had for myself. So along the way, who knew things would happen? Who knew Katrina would happen? Who knew that I would get a divorce? Who knew he'd get a black belt? Who knew he'd grow up and he'd be 6'7"? I looked at WebMD when he was a baby and I plugged in the numbers and I knew he was be 6'7", but I didn't tell anybody.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'4".
Okay.
So I didn't tell anybody anything. I let it play out. I said, all right, cool. But I went to WebMD, plugged in the numbers. Anybody out there who wants to know how tall your kid's going to be or within a range,
Okay.
It's something called the height predictor. And go to webmd.com, height predictor, and plug in the numbers. You'll see something. So, but who knew these things? Who knew? That's how the company came to be. Now, like I said, it was a word play on the word personification, the definition of the word personification, which is giving human-like characteristics to animals. I flipped that definition around with the word personification. It all ties into the backstory of Beast Developmental and how it came to be. And I give animalistic qualities to humans, hence the word Beast Developmental.
Gotcha.
Because all athletes are beastly. They're described in these animalistic terms. He's a horse. He's fast as a gazelle.
A gazelle.
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. He's strong as an ox. He's more courage than a lion. That type of stuff. He has the heart of a lion.
You hear that all on when they broadcast the games. They're
Exactly.
talking. You're right. They're talking in animalistic terms.
Exactly. That's why I turn the sound off when the game is on. I have my earbuds in my ear because I don't want to hear all that. I know what's going on if I watch the game with the sound off. I know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to paint a bigger picture for how Beast Developmental came to be, the inception of it. So animalistic terms, giving beast-like characteristics to animals. Okay. Now we got to attack the mental part of it because, okay, these guys are performing at the highest levels at some point, and the steps along the way will begin to separate them from their peers and the fun of the game, so to speak, because everybody else might be having fun with the 2 points they scored. Well, I'm positioning you to carry the team at some point in your mind, if not physically, until your body catches up with your mind.
Yes.
You're becoming a student of the game. The Kobe's, the LeBrons, the Jordans, all students of the game. So you can't short the game or treat the game like it's something that you can pick up and put down. You're in or you're out. That's 0.003%. You're in or you're out. And to my trusted advisors out there, you got to understand something. It's about sacrifice. And Beast Developmental is all about the sacrifices that I've gone through and the sacrifice that I'll be willing to help anyone out there who wants to secure our services understand the full body of work, not just wait at the finish line looking for their pound of flesh from a young athlete who will view you as a justifier once you get there because you don't have clarifier status. So you become one of many. That's where you don't want to be. I did I spoke at the National Bar Association a couple of years ago. It was a room full of lawyers, very prominent attorneys in entertainment and sports. And the biggest question in the room was centered around, how do we get to the young athletes as early as possible? I said, well, here I am, a daddy. Got my business degree, but of course I'm in a position where I can answer an attorney's questions or a group of attorneys' questions because They have not traveled the road I've traveled.
Yeah.
My response to them was, well, you have to understand the value of being a clarifier as early as possible in that child's life. So if you know of a young man or a family and y'all have done business with them in the past, or you're seeking out young athletes, you might want to, present your services in a way that can be beneficial long-term and not just short-term. You have to build up your book of business with that family and use it to your advantage and their advantage also, and not have nefarious means involved in it at all. Because the minute you do what everybody else is doing to try to gain favor, you become one of many. You become a justifier.
And not a clarifier.
Not a clarifier. And that's the center of Beast Developmental. That's the heart of it, and it's never gonna deviate or move to another level, because this is not for my personal gain. I mean, I have means, okay? So means don't drive me, and these large dollar amount conversations don't scare me either. Now, I can't say that for a lot of people I rub shoulders with every day. And I mean in professionals now.
Yeah.
Because they have never mastered the art of being a clarifier. Therefore, they don't understand the power they have or the value that they could bring to a situation outside of trying to capitalize monetarily.
Yeah.
I hope that was in detail for you.
No, you gave that in detail. I mean, needless to say, if you have clarity on what's your purpose,
yes, sir,
you wouldn't be a justifier, meaning just ready to latch on to somebody who's just looking just for an opportunity, or being an opportunist.
Right.
So that's important. If you're able to have clarity on what your purpose is as a person, before you set up your business, the LLC, whatever structure you're doing, have clarity on who you are, have a purpose on what you're doing, and then now you're a clarifier.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So
you've earned the right to be.
You've earned the right to be. Correct.
Yes. Yeah. And there's no, there is no question to clarifiers. And I always tell my son, Kelly, I will clarify 1,000,000 times, but I will never justify once. So anybody that comes into your life, we put them on a performance basis. With no performance, you have no basis.
Wow.
And at first, he was so used to hearing this talk track until his friends started coming around. And then I would talk to them the same way. Everybody in this circle is on a performance basis. If you have no performance, you have no basis. And then 3 of his friends disappeared because those words were like burdens, like sacks of bricks on their back. Because they realized.
You got to say that one more time.
Yeah. And like I said before, clarifiers and justifiers, guys. When you talk to people who don't belong in the moment or can't appreciate the work that's culminated to that point, they'll be totally lost if they're not willing to learn on the fly at that point. Okay. 3 of his friends were just that. They were justifiers the whole time. And I told them point blank on numerous occasions, even texted it to them a couple of times. Everyone in this circle is on a performance basis. If you have no performance, you have no basis. And the weight weighed heavy on them like it's a sack of bricks constantly. Yeah. Constantly. Because the pressure was always on them, whether I was in the room or whether I wasn't. But when I walked in the room, they always tried to pretend that they were clarifiers. But clarifying is natural if you're grown into the position. You have to be conditioned into this spot. You can't just show up one day. Yes. And that's why I talked to my parents on the summer circuit. If you really believe that you're going to hold your kid out until his 11th grade summer to get on the Nike circuit, my friend, you're sadly mistaken and you're delusional. Because those kids have come up through the system already, and their culminating summer, when the coaches are sitting around the court, is their 11th grade summer. And if you're just showing up, you don't know that in the Nike circuit, the game doesn't start until the last 2 minutes anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
That's when they go to work.
That's when they start to go to work.
I got 3 timeouts left. I got a 5'9" point guard. And I don't have to talk to him anymore because he's going to work on you. You know, but he's been conditioned into that moment. And it's funny because they have a 2-game road trip right now with the Dallas Mavericks. And I use young Mr. Jalen Brunson to make my point. His dad is Rick Brunson, a former NBA player. I think the dad may have went to, I forgot what college he went to. I think it's somewhere in the Big East. Young Mr. Brunson was playing against Kelly when Kelly was in the 11th grade. Young Jalen Brunson was playing as an 8th grader on the Nike circuit. Conditioned into the system the whole time and holding his own because he was also NBPA Top 100 4 years in a row, if I'm not mistaken, you know, as a camp prepping for the league. Now, you can say, yeah, his daddy got in that. No, you can't say that because that boy put the work in. Regardless of who his daddy was.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's on the Dallas Mavericks playing point guard. So that's just a little backstory. I did a name drop on Jalen. You know, I normally don't do the name drop, but I want to drive it home for those guys who may feel like they're undersized or those trusted advisors who always figure their child's a write-off since he's undersized. If you come up in a system and your body of work is on full display for the world to see, then you will be noticed and recognized. Therefore, when it's time for that Division I coach to take a flyer on somebody or give a scholarship to a kid who's qualified, not a phone call kid, a kid who's qualified because he's seen his body of work, he knows he's battle tested, then he's more likely than not to go with the kid that had a consistent track record leading up to that point.
Wow.
So bottom line is, don't think you have time because you don't.
Yeah, you don't.
You don't.
You don't. Well, talking about that, we have like 7 more minutes of the show, and I want to make sure that I want to talk about your book.
All right,
converting pain points to PowerPoints.
Yes, sir. Along the way, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Along the way, it's been a lot of pain. Converted to power on the fly. Reinventing myself, reconditioning, a lot of eating crow, a lot of sacrificing. I'm going to put those nuggets in the book. I want people to pick it up, look at it, and use it as the way you formulate your own blueprints. You don't have to use mine, but if you can take something from that, pass it to your young diamond. If you want to sign up for our services, that's fine too. It's not a shameless plug for my services, but the book will be chock full of nuggets that parents, trusted advisors, clarifiers can use every step of the way from infantile stages through the higher heights, and whether the profession will be on the court or off the court, if you do it the right way, you always have reference points to refer to together as a team, as a unit, as a group. And that's what the book is trying to promote, the unity. If you're a single parent, I understand. I'm a single parent. If you're a 2-parent home, I understand. I've been married also. So let's not use that as a determinator of your success and how you can present yourself and be of value as a clarifier and a trusted advisor to your young diamond.
I love that word, value. Be of value.
Yes, sir.
A lot of people chase success, but they're not chasing to be of value. If you have value to offer, you're in a better place.
You are, and you will remain there because you know what it takes to get there. You don't want to lose what you've gained.
Mm-hmm.
So understand what it is to sacrifice. Sacrifice, you know, in moderation, of course, but at the same time, sometimes you may have to make sure everybody in the house eats before you do. And, you know, you may have to opt for a sandwich over a piece of that steak that's not on the stove anymore. So, I mean, that's how this works. You know, I never was a clubber, a drinker, or somebody like that with vices. But, you know, if my trusted advisors want to be worth their salt, all of that stuff is being watched. As your young athlete ascends up the ladder, all of your vices are being watched and studied, because that is pain points that I could capitalize on if I'm an opportunist to get to your young diamond around you.
Yeah.
Okay. So be mindful of that at all times, and be careful who you take pictures with also, because you never really know who can be pinched to get around you to get to your young diamond. So it's little things like that that's going to be in the book.
Yeah.
So just look forward to it because we're going to come out.
Where can we get the book when you release?
Looking at a launch probably December 2021.
Okay.
Because I want it done right. I want to come out and I want to be able to fill it up with the things and as I'm moving through these spaces, I'm looking to field a lot of questions, because a lot of questions out there, I may think I know that there are questions, but the landscape in this situation changes so much with COVID, with things we're going to go through, the things that families are going to go through with regards to no one and done anymore in college.
Yeah.
I want these questions. I want to field these questions as best I can to deliver information in real time. And some of those questions may go to the book. Not may, they will go to the book, because I want to answer them as best I can with the knowledge that I have, so I can be a help and bring value along the way.
Absolutely. You're bringing value already. You brought a lot of gems to our show tonight.
Thank you.
I have one more. This is the last question for you, and then I have one more. Well, two questions. One, and we'll make it quick. We have 2 minutes.
Gotcha.
What advice would you give to single fathers who are finding it challenging these times to raise their kids?
Keep your children close. Be a presence. When I say presence, differentiate your approach. Talk in person, FaceTime, Zoom call, text, tweet, whatever you got to do to get your point across. Differentiate your approach. Don't use the same approach all the time, because it gets watered down and redundant. And educate yourself to what your young athlete is going through and what he's walking into also. Utilize the word no to your advantage, okay? Information is power, okay? Time must be your ally. Time can never be your nemesis, because remember, you don't have any of it. All right?
My last thing that I wanted to ask you, on this show, we normally let people, our special guests, we let them nominate 3 people so we can continue to have this type of conversation, this dialogue with another special guest. So if you could nominate 3 people that you would nominate to tell their stories or share their journey. They could be professional athletes, or they could be just industry professionals. Please nominate, give me 3 names.
Well, Dr. Johnson, you come across and you've been consistent in everything you've done. And normally people don't meet my son, because I don't let them meet my son. I would nominate, first of all, Kelly Oubre Jr. Okay, one, and I want you to, we're going to work and put him on your calendar. Okay. So he can be on and he can tell his story. Second one is Everest Akajobi.
Absolutely.
Everest, I got to give it up to Everest. I saw a twinkle in his eye, in the midst of despair at one point. But at the same time, Everest was always big enough to persevere through whatever and capture the moment for himself, even while he asked a lot of how and why questions. That's still fine. I don't mind answering his hows and why, because I know it's going into his mental Rolodex, and he's going to use that for his advantage and to raise his young son Emery also.
Okay.
So once again, just strengthening and stressing the fatherhood aspect of this all, and the parental aspect of this all. And my third would probably be my man Jimmy Jackson, who's super busy, former Ohio State basketball player, McDonald's All-American. Jim has been my mentor through a lot of these things. He's a proven man, and I only want to present you, Doc, with proven men.
I appreciate that,
because we make each other stronger.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, you shared so many great gems tonight. You made me want to go and say, okay, this was part 1. Mr. Oubre Sr., we're going to come back with another part 2.
Right. I don't have a script, man. I just flow.
Look, there's no script, but tonight, I mean, you said a lot. You've given a lot of great information for people to take. I've learned through this interview about not only about you, about what you're doing, about just the industry in itself, and what the definition is of a justifier, clarifier, understanding your young diamond, and understanding what beast mental, what it is,
beast developmental, right? Exactly.
Beast developmental, understanding what it is. So, I mean, again, I would like to say thank you again for taking the time to come on our show. Thank you to Everest for him reaching out. I appreciate your time being on our show, and I hope that it was you enjoyed sharing your story, because your story could be able to save and help others.
Exactly. And before I go, I want to just say, if I have to drop anything on somebody from the takeaway from tonight, if they forget everything else, remember this: be there for every step of their journey, and not just for the convenient steps of your own. Welcome to Beast Developmental.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those who tuned in. This was Life After Sports podcast with your host, Kevin Johnson, special guest, Kelly Oubre Sr.
Yes, sir.
Thank you again for taking the time to be on our episode 29.
Yes, sir.
We welcome you anytime.
Thank you very much, and I will be back because I want to grow your platform also. Because what good am I growing if you're not growing along with me? So
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will do the same. When that book comes out, you let me know. We
yes, sir.
purchase it, and we're going to make sure we put it on our platform for people to make sure they can go and buy it
Yes,
and
sir.
get that information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. You have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.